And I received a nudge to ask you about, more of that multidimensional ceremonial work. And you, of course, received a nudge back about, mentioning the high priestess. And when you did, it just was this full body yes, because I felt like it was time to really step into this initiation. I had started the studies years ago, but then it was kind of like put on pause while I was going through a lot of different transitions in my own life. And so finally, it was just like the time, and having you as a mentor really was meaningful because it was, working together with someone. It was like an accountability buddy. It was someone to, hold space for you and to really go deep into those conversations and those discussions about all of these concepts, to be witnessed through that deep inner alchemy. It was just super meaningful. And now it's just, I feel like a completely different person in many different ways. More embodied in the truth of who I am, more embodied in my mission, which is something I've known for quite some time, but there were still so many questions that I had, and lots of additional inner work, and even working with my nervous system and some of the spiritual concepts to really fully embody my truth and carry out my mission in a way that felt really good for me, really nourishing for me, instead of for other people. Yeah. And I think you said it really well, is being more anchored into my mission and not having it feel like a burden, feeling excited by it. And yeah, that is exciting for me. Some of the biggest breakthroughs or aha moments that I felt, because I feel like my world or my life completely like fell apart. Even though it has fallen apart so many times throughout my life, it collapsed even deeper when I thought there was nothing left to collapse this past year. So, but it needed to happen. And, with my background and like all of the healing and, like the spiritual work that I've done, I was able to hold this and I was able to go even deeper. So, some of the things that really stood out to me were, you know, I guess connecting more deeply with the divine and, the divine mother, Sophia, which I think one of the biggest breakthroughs that came through was, when I was in devotion or I was in prayer, I always felt like this disconnection because I was connecting to, still to this God that I felt was, separate from me. It was more of this masculine God that I couldn't really relate to. And then working with the Mother Sophia energy and just it just there was this softening and there was just this love that I held. And for me, like, I kind of look at this divine energy as like it transcends like the divine feminine or the divine masculine. But when I want to connect and I want to be held and I want to be in devotion, I reach out to Mother Sophia. Um, and that for me was a true breakthrough. Also, this there was this deep healing with Mother Earth and healing with my ancestors. That was huge. And I've always been more connected with the cosmos. Like I connect very easily to the Akash, to like channel whatever. Like my intuition is always very strong, but there are times where, well, most of the time, like I was never grounded in my body. So it was easy for me to like lift off and take off without grounding it into I guess just like my life as a whole, to embody all of that I am. And part of my, I guess, path in this lifetime is to be more grounded into the earth, to connect with Mother Earth, and to be a part of this material world, like it or not, because a huge part of my origin of like connecting on my spiritual path was more of like, I am a star seed, like, I feel a belonging somewhere like off this planet. And like that's just, I don't know, like that's not truth. Like, sure, yes, we all have history, with incarnations or concurrent incarnations like off the earth, but we're meant to be here. We're meant to be grounded here and really like learn to love this life on earth. So I think my journey of learning to love myself has been very long. And I remember this was a few years ago where I finally felt like self love for the first time. And to me, it was like connecting with the divine. It was just like this joy and this connection of all in one. But I wasn't fully embodied in that. And I think through this mentorship, like I was able to develop this like deeper trust and understanding of love for myself and love for my connection to the all. It's like that compassion of like that opening your heart and understanding that, you know, everything outside of us is connected to us, whether that's a mirror back to us or just, it just is this deeper love and trust and realizing that I really am a co-creator, right? It's not outside of me. Like I am creating with the divine. I am not, just carrying out actions that are dictated to me through my soul or my blueprint or, whatever that is. And it's just, like stepping into that love and knowing that I am love and that I am part of the all. I'm part of the divine. And I think one more point to that is that, that I am just love and that I don't have to do anything to receive love or to be love or to, connect with love. It's just always there. It's always there to be experienced no matter what circumstance you're in. All you have to do is just quiet yourself and just connect in and you can feel it. I think one of the biggest things for me is it's just something like sure there's mental chatter, but I'm also here to really be a thinker. And sometimes I can get carried away with that. And for me, it comes through of like how I need to figure it out. I see a pattern and I need to like put all the pieces together and create something instead of just, you know, focusing on the why, and that's one of the biggest things that I keep saying biggest things, but that's one of the things that came through I think it was the crown chakra with the white rose is just focusing on your mission, the why, not the how. The how is always going to come to you, right? You're always going to receive those breadcrumbs and the different pieces. But if you're focusing on the why of why you want to create and why you want to, be of service and why you want to be on this path, all of the other information is going to come to you when the time is right and when you're ready. Did you want to say something? Sorry. Okay. um, yeah. And I think because of that, like the how, like, would just always felt like when I was focusing on the how, I was giving my power away and I was feeling ungrounded. And I think that was a big thing because then it would lean to I would head towards like burnout and it would just feel so heavy and I would just, turn away and like just want to break and just feel like it was more of a burden than anything else. The other thing is scarcity too, like scarcity mindset. Like I've always had a pretty balanced, I guess, viewpoint on money. Just like it comes and it goes, it ebbs and it flows. Like I've had nothing and been like homeless practically. Like sleeping on couch and built myself up. Like I've had massive amounts of debt. I've paid it off. The fluctuations. Like I've always been, you know, I guess it just like that's just part of life. It like never really haunted me, but I think that scarcity of really came to the forefront with my business in a new way because I didn't have like an outside job like that was had regular income. Like I was dependent on my savings to support creating my business, and so like I kept focusing on my bank account and looking like, okay, I have like 3 months left, to pay my rent or whatever that is, and really stepping back from that and focusing on the feminine energetics of it, because I've had so many things this year that I've had to focus on instead of my business. My mom is very ill, and I had to spend more time supporting her and helping her move, and doctor's visits and all of that. And one of the things that you shared with me that was just a huge aha moment was this: when you're taking care of your mom, when you're helping your mom, because that's what you really want to do, that's where your heart is, your business is still growing. Like you still have that energy of receiving, like when you're focusing on that. So I think understanding scarcity from that perspective was like really huge for me. I never really, like kind of thought that way. So that was really huge. And also like finding space every day for my spiritual practices, which I sort of got away from. But understanding like that is so critical for me. Solitude, space for my mind, body, and soul to like come together and just be in stillness and be in quiet. So high alchemies like provided so many like different practices and experiences and journeys that like I wasn't aware of, despite my own like like toolbox of all these different things. So it's always good to learn like different methods and different practices to help support you and understanding yourself and what your needs are. um, and also like shifting into like a more playfulness energy when I'm connecting with the divine. I think I tend to be more serious, like I guess that goes back to like programming of like, like this connection with the divine, with God, is like supposed to be like, something that is sacred. And yes, it is sacred, but like it can be playful. It gets to be playful. Life gets to be fun. And I think when we take that away, when we take away that level of creativity, that level of autonomy, it takes away our sovereignty as well. And it like gives our power away to something outside of ourselves. So that has been a huge part for me. Oh, Ashley, you are just love. And, one of my favorite things about mentoring with you is just your openness and your compassion and just your availability, like your energetic availability to be with that person. Just you are moving through whatever your client is moving through. Like there's that deep connection, and you just are this beautiful nurturing mirror for the wisdom that's already inside of us. And that's what all intuitives are. It's just this mirror, and having you hold that space has just it's just been so powerful for me. It's just one of the other things too is that like I've worked with other mentors, especially in business, and they're always moving you towards their method, like their idea of what things need to be. And with you, you share like what your view is, what your beliefs are, and how you see things, but you really empower your clients to find their truth, and you provide them with the tools to really discover what each of these concepts means to them. We talked about, like the divine and Mother Sophia and, Mary Magdalene and some of these ascended masters like Isis, right? And you encourage to build that connection on your own and to connect with different spiritual concepts on your own to gather your own understanding and to really have that discernment, which is just this beautiful quality to have. It's so unique. And I've never witnessed that through any other coach that I've worked with, or any other mentor that I've worked with, or any other practitioner that I've worked with. So powerful. And having that safe, nurturing container is just really just a blessing. I think for my mission, I think I got mixed up a lot in working with coaches and trying to fit myself into one way. And I just felt so much like resistance every time I tried to box myself in. And, my soul is just like, stop. Is like, you're not moving forward with this. Something is going to come into my life to really throw me off course, trying to get me to find my way, not looking to someone else. Starting your own business is like a huge thing, like on top of having this mission, you're starting a business. And many women in business, like I, for one, like I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And so I'm looking to others for guidance. And I guess I just gave my power away. I wasn't, embodied enough. And through, this high priestess, like I came home to myself and I felt more safe and secure, with you as a mentor to really step into all that I am, embody all that I am, and feel excited to really do whatever the hell I want in my business, like make it up as I go along. I guess I didn't feel safe to do that. And, like you really empowered me to do so, which is, I'm truly grateful for. Someone joining High Alchemies of the Priestess. Well, just know that this is not for the meek, but it will be the best experience of your life. Maybe all that you thought about yourself and about your spiritual path and your beliefs, it may all crumble and fall apart, but it's meant to, and just know that you are loved and you're held by the divine, by Ashley, and that this program, that this mentorship is so worth it. If you want to transform yourself, transform your life, and really step more solidly and more connected, more confidently into your mission and into your life, and feel, like aligned and, oh, the word escapes me, but just feel like, really grounded into all that you do, into that authentic version of yourself.